Hi guys, welcome back to Taylor Talks Trades. In today's episode we are with Yosof Ewing, the contract coach. He's telling us how he's coaching specialist contractors to get paid in full and on time. Come and check out the episode, I hope you enjoy. Hi Yosof, welcome to Taylor Talks Trades.
Hi Jamie, how's it going, buddy?
I'll start where I always start. How did you get into the trades?
Well, I started off in 1990 when I left school and became a setting out engineer with Wimpy, or George Wimpy, or was it Wimpy Welcome Home back then? I can't remember. But they eventually became Taylor Woodrow, I think it was. Taylor Wimpy even. And then, so I worked with them as an engineer in Edinburgh, Aberdeen, basically setting out, and I was responsible for the bonus for the guys as well. And then in 1993, there was a bit of a recession. My dad basically went from being the general foreman in the Gyle, you know where the Gyle shopping centre was? They were building houses next door to that. I was an engineer on there. And one minute he was the general foreman, the next it was, you're a company director. And that's where he went. From that moment, it was basically, these guys that are your squads are now your employees. Yeah. Yeah, and it was just like pretty much overnight. So yeah, that happened. And then from there until 2005, he grew the business to about maybe 120 employees, 7, maybe 8 million turnover. Then all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, it was coming for a while, but people didn't pay their bills, main contractors, and KPMG shut them down. So yeah, that's still, as you can see, quite a, even now, 18 years later, it still kind of rankles me. Totally unnecessary.
Yeah, and that's where your sort of passion for what you're doing now sort of comes from.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, ultimately, when we talk about trades, like all these people that go and get a trade and then have the guts to build a business from it, they deserve to be respected in my view, but they're not, and that's what needs to change in the industry.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then, so what happened there? So were you working for your dad? Is that within that company?
Sorry, yeah. And so then, after Wimpy, I went to work for my dad.
Right, and then so he's became the director. He's got the 120 employees. You're in there.
Yeah. So I became contracts manager, and I did quantity surveying.
And basically everything.
Yeah. That's it.
So somebody no pay him? KPMG never paid him, and then
no. KPMG came in. They're the insolvency practitioners.
Right.
Yeah. So a lot of big names didn't pay him. I didn't really want to shame them. 18 years later, you know who you are. But the point was it was a horrible thing, to happen. And at that point, the backstory is he took me to a children's home in 1979, so like for me, not being able to protect him as well really kind of hurt me,
Yeah. So what happened after that then?
After that, my brother and I tried to save as many people as we could, and we set up a company with one of our big suppliers, and I stayed there about 6 months, and I thought, this isn't working for me. At that point, I was sickened with what I saw in the industry, and I thought, well, we could change it. I know it's quite an ambitious undertaking, and trust me, I've failed about 4 or 5 times in trying to do that over the last 18 years since 2006. So I started up with myself in 2006, April. Right. And I thought to myself, well, if we could just show people that there's a better way to do the industry, we could build things together as opposed to kind of this constant like destroying each other. I don't get it. I don't understand. Like if you think about if you get somebody in here to paint your walls and stuff, you just pay them. So why does it have to be so complicated in the construction industry? I'll tell you why. Lawyers. Yeah, and I'm not ashamed to say that. I mean, no, I should be ashamed because I'm not a lawyer. But I mean, I fight these guys every day of the week, and it's like they'll make up just absolute bullshit arguments to try and get main contractors out of paying their bills. And you think, well, that's part of the problem in the industry too. That and the complicated contracts. Why do they need to be so complicated? It's like we're not doing anything that's that difficult. It's not rocket science.
And then, so back in 2006, when you started up, what was that venture that you started up then? Was that your own contracting, or was this to try and change the industry? Was that at the point you started to do it?
That was the point. So I set up a business, and my idea was to basically take what I've learned in contracting and give it to people as consultancy. If I'm being honest with you, I didn't even know how I was going to do it at that point in time. And
you just knew you wanted to help and you wanted to make sure people get paid.
That's it.
Because you felt the pain of what happened when Your dad, and you didn't get paid?
Initially, I started off more sort of project management, quantity surveying type, like consultancy services for developers and contractors and stuff like that. But then it was like I had this passion to protect, like smaller companies. And that's kind of been me since then. So I learned, I'd never done adjudication before, so I taught myself how to do adjudication, just got better and better and better.
And for anybody listening, what is that?
So adjudication is the process in the UK construction industry that any party to a construction contract can pursue the money they're entitled to, or the extension of time they're entitled to, through a process that's done outside the court.
And a lot of people probably didn't know that.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I set up the contract coach, was for that reason, because to me it was almost like second nature. But every time I went to a client, I was talking to them about, like the Construction Act, and they're like, the what? And I'm thinking, how do you not know about this? It's like, but that was 1998 that it became law. So it's like quarter of a century ago, half my lifetime. I'm 50, and I'm thinking, how did people not know that?
And how do you change it then? Like, how do you get the change to happen? Because, so I guess first it's awareness. You must need to make people aware that there is laws there that do protect you and should get you to be able to pay, get your money paid. But then sometimes, like, knowing that isn't enough. How do they then take action on that? Yeah,
so the coaching is kind of twofold. And the coach, to give you the background of the coaching, I've got my own coach. Like a lot of people in business will have their own coach. My coach works in energetics, Louise. She's absolutely fantastic. And I was sitting in October 2022. So just sitting on a Zoom call. Sorry, we were on a Zoom call, but if you were on a Zoom call. Yeah. And I just had this moment where I kind of looked out in my back garden and I thought, hang on a minute, like what you're doing with me, if I could combine a little bit of that with my knowledge at that point, 32 years in the industry, and I'd worked as a contractor, I spoke the language, I also understood the legal side of it, and I thought if we could coach them, as in give them the confidence, because knowledge is one thing, so being aware of the Construction Act is the first part, giving them the knowledge that they need to use to be able to use it in real contracting situations, but then to actually have that confidence to assert those rights, that was the secret sauce, and that's working. I've got quite a lot of clients have come at the back end of it, and they're really like bossing it now. They work on their terms. They know to spot like dodgy clauses in contracts and things like that. And all I'm trying to do is create a balance in the industry.
So is this so that the specialist contractor then presents their terms to the main contractor?
That's ideal.
And whereas normally in the routine way that it's done just now, or certainly how I would understand it, is the main contractor will give you their terms and you need to sign that, and if you don't sign it, you're basically not getting the job, is 9 times out of 10 what's happening.
Yeah, but
so how can you get them to change their stance on it? Is that happening?
By a certain, yes. So I used to do it even when I worked for my dad. I would go in with a set of T's and C's that I wrote myself and say to them, like, that's part of our contract, and we would have to go through it and we'd knock out clauses in the main contract. They're pretty much, if I'm being honest, they're literally written to screw over the trades guy. They are. And it's an uncomfortable truth, but it is a truth. Some of the stuff I see, it's the stuff of nightmares, and you think, why?
Just like wee clauses that'll just totally catch them out.
Like, I'll give you an example. So a clause that would say that if you don't sign it, for example, if you don't sign our contract, we won't pay you. Well, that's actually illegal in the UK, and the vast majority of specialist contractors won't even know that. Whereas I pushed back with the main contractor, and I spoke about it on LinkedIn quite a bit. Main contractor waited to one of my coaching clients till after they'd agreed the price. So that was the contract. They agreed the price, went on the site, 2 weeks into the site, the work's been done. They basically hit them with a 800-page contract saying, if you don't sign it, we won't pay you. So I then I stepped out of being the coach and put my consultant hat on and went, well, my client's not signing your contract. And it went 3 months of going back and forward, negotiating. And towards the end of it, I think the main contractor, because this is the thing, people just think main contractors are all powerful, but they're not. A lot of them are really bad at their job. And specialists often pay the price for that. Whereas I actually got them to the point where there was only 2 clauses in the contract, and I said to them, we're not signing it until they're removed. The QS that was working for the main contractor forwarded on the document that we've been working on back and forward, but forgot to take out the comments of their lawyers on the other side. And I kid you not, this is the true story. They literally, I won't say the guy's name, obviously. I'll call him Bob. Let's call him Bob. Says, just leave it. Just take them out, Bob, or just agree it, Bob, because we've got plenty of ammunition elsewhere. I swear to God, I was like, what the? Are you being serious? Like, why would you? And this is an NEC3 contract, which is all about collaboration.
It shows you the culture of it.
Yeah. So my client at that point, I says, "You've just seen behind the mask," and he was like, "Holy shit!" He was like shocked, and I went, "Well, no wonder. That's what I deal with on a day-to-day basis. These people are not your friends. Some of them are. Don't get me wrong. Some of the main contractors are genuinely good people, but the vast majority are not."
It's wrapped up in, like you said, it's lawyers, it's legalities, isn't it? It's no. Like you could have a great relationship with the contracts manager on site or one of the construction directors, but the main contractors, the business as itself, it's just its own standalone entity. It's a big legal machine often, cases, so that can be quite hard to deal with probably for a lot of trades guys, especially the smaller ones, that they're just thinking, right, I'll get onto site, this is what I need to do. Like, they're not thinking anything's going to go wrong. They're not really trying to protect themselves because they're thinking, I'll just go and I'll do a good job, I'll get paid, and can probably be quite naive. So it must be quite difficult.
Well, a good way that I've been using to raise awareness is, if you think about it, if like, particularly in trades, you put a hard hat on, high-vis vest, and you do that to protect you or your men. What do you do for your profit? Because that's what we're talking about here. Without the profit, nothing else matters. You've not got a business. So you put your profit at risk in a contract that's written to take that profit from you from the start. That's the reality. You know, and the industry itself is actually, it's in my view, it's set up for these guys to fail. You know, it's like, give us your cash flow. There's free finance, unsecured. By the way, you've got to trust that we'll pay you, but we don't, so we'll take retention off you. You're like, sign me up. It's like, what? You know,
it's quite a bizarre model when you think about it.
It's insane. The tier one's going at less than margin.
And do you think that was? See, when that was built, do you think that was built with that view in mind? Like, was that built like it was main contractor led then? Do you know, they went, that'll help our cash flow, this'll, like, it'll just give them all the control as such?
Well, it is about control.
Because it can be very scary. Like, I've no worked for, like, in the commercial market for years. Like, we're predominantly private homeowner. About 95% of our work is private homeowner with my roofing company and my solar company. But when we worked for house builders and stuff, it wasn't nice when you were just in them positions of going, are we going to get paid here? Like, when are we going to get paid? You know, it's very different, like, just being, like, at that time, just being a roofer, used to just, you know, putting roofs on or putting guys out and getting them to put roofs on, and then you're having to sort of, you know, do valuations and all of that stuff, and you know, you're getting all of this thrown at you, and you're just kind of, it can be quite overwhelming for sure. And to think that that's maybe all geared up towards that being what, like, that is what they want, that's the way that they want it to be, is probably quite distasteful a bit, actually.
It is distasteful, and that's what I'm trying to do, is I call right the wrongs in the industry, and it's a bit kind of, sounds a bit like marketing speaking. It is, but it's what I feel. Like, my number one value is balance, you know, and that's what the problem is. The balance is the wrong way. The people who actually do the work, to me, are the industry. These guys, like I said, they're expected to have all the accreditations, all the training, the qualifications. They've got to have the business. They've got to be able to afford the cash flow. And you think, why is it all one way? You know, and we might pay you eventually. Oh, and here's this big contract that we've got a lawyer to write to protect us, but not you. It's just, it's not right, you know.
When do you normally find people coming to you? Like, when do they come to you? Is it when it's went wrong, or?
99% of the time. Thankfully, because people are starting to listen to what I'm saying on LinkedIn, I'm getting more and more people coming into the coaching.
A bit more proactively to say, how do I do this?
Yeah, because once you know, it's like you can't unknow. So when you teach them, so the coaching, for example, we go through the Construction Act, run them through an adjudication to show them what an adjudication would be like, and do construction law basics. I mean, that's the three key areas, and but then teach them in real time with real world situations. So it's, you know, such and such has happened with this contractor. What do I do? Well, you do this. You know, so it's real world, real time.
What happens when, like, they can't change the main contractor that they're going in against?
They need to price for the risk. So you either price for it, insure for it, or take it out. And if you can't take it out, you've got to then make a choice. Do you want to work for this person?
But then that's often the problem. Like these trades sort of business owners, they're scared that if they say no to that might be their biggest contract, or they've worked with that main contractor for years. Yeah. Like how do they? Like that's quite a risk as well.
But then the way that, so my answer to that is, what's the risk of doing it? Is it you need to weigh up the balance, because you could say, well, it's £1 million job for a small company. Yeah. That's great, but not if it costs you 1.2 to deliver it. Yeah. So you need to know your numbers. Yeah. But the thing is, it shouldn't be a gamble, because if you operate on your terms and you say, this is how we work, this is how we want to work with you, and if they just say no, you just say, well, we'll go get somebody else. Having that's part of the coaching we do. That
would take a lot of confidence, eh?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So do you work on that sort of mindset and confidence to just say, look, you need to stand your own ground? And
leadership development, yeah. I mean, I use myself as an example. I don't give credit to anybody. People laugh at me in construction. And I went, well, I don't, because why should I put myself in a position that somebody's going to screw me over if I'm helping them out in an adjudication? Because it has happened to me in the past. Nobody's immune. And I thought to myself, well, this keeps happening. How am I going to stop it? Stop giving credit. You know, and I realise that it's not kind of practical for construction companies, but you can ask for deposits and upfront payments, stage payments. So there are ways around it, you know.
Yeah. A lot of the time the main contractor will just try and find somebody who can adhere to the terms. That's the problem, and there's always somebody who does. So you've got a big job on trying to, like, you need to get the full industry to kind of back it, or it doesn't work in a sense, because, like, say for example, I stood my ground and I said, look, that's my terms. I'm not gonna sign what you've said there, because I'm not taking the risk. I'm not taking all the risk. But then the next roofing company goes, well, we'll take the risk. Then it's all.
I always say this is well, we'll let them, because ultimately you'll still be standing. And a lot of people go, but what if there's not enough work? There is. There's more work than we can deal with in the industry.
What do you think about that? Is that a myth then? Like there's not enough work's a myth?
Yeah, it's just propagated by the tier ones talking about this through the tier twos and the bigger contractors. You know, like, and the whole method of competitive tendering. You're competing against another company, right, who also wants to make money, but what's the prize in the competition? The opportunity to give free finance to a company that doesn't care about you. When you actually break it down,
it's scary.
You know? So that's the point. It's like, would you work for somebody that if you genuinely believed they didn't care for you? It's a bit like a personal relationship. Would you go and marry somebody if you thought they didn't give a shit about you? Probably not. So why would you get into business with somebody like that? So I talk about red flags. And when you, and this is part of the coaching as well, I'll say, like, these are red flags. Like, for example, if you don't sign the contract, there's a perfect one, we won't pay you. Well, that's a breach of your statutory rights before you've even started on site. Would you want to work with them?
Just trying to get into more like the crux of it, right? Like, would that not get things quite awkward at the beginning when you start, you know, you're trying, like, because ultimately at the beginning you're trying to win the contract as such. So if you start taking things back and going, what about this, what about that, is that going to put people at a disadvantage of winning the work? Or in your opinion, you're just thinking it doesn't matter because you're better being protected and winning it than upsetting somebody and no winning it? Probably answered it for you there, but
well, no, that's all right. But it's interesting because I've just consciously used the word winning, and I was just talking about competition. It shouldn't be a competition. Right. They should, the people that come to you to ask. So it's like me coming to you and I can't do roofing. Jamie, I need you to do something. If you think about it this way, I need you to do something that I can't do, which is a roof. Yeah. You're an expert at that, but I'm going to tell you how to do it because here's my contract. When you look at it like that, it should be the other way around, is what I'm trying to say.
It does make sense. I get it. Yeah. That's probably why we didn't work for like commercial companies. Really, it's all predominantly private homeowners on our terms. Yeah. And we probably had enough. Confidence and built enough of a reputation, and were established enough to be able to have people to trust in our terms for us to say, look, that's the deposit that we take up front. This is the payment structure, and this is what we'll expect paid at the end. Like, more or less on completion, sort of, you know, we'll finish then, we'll be expecting that payment within a couple of days. It's no 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, anything like that. When we've went and worked with other commercial people and we sort of propose that, they're like, well, we didn't pay deposits. And you're like, well, we'll not be working for you then. And it's like, but actually what I usually find is that you don't work for them then, which is fine, because we're like, well, we'll just stick to our private stuff. And there's like 5% of our workload's probably commercial, and that is the ones who do accept, like, well, I'll pay you a deposit. But it's quite alien, I would say, that a sort of commercial company would pay a deposit on a service.
It's alien because it's not the norm, and that's what we're trying to bust that myth. So I've got
And I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate because I totally get it, but I'm seeing it from that side where I'm like, it could be a really tightrope for a lot of people, like, because if they just go, well, that's my terms and take it or leave it. I don't know if they would, if the next main contractor just would be there that is going to sign it, or if it means they need to come out of that market and they need to find a different. Does that make sense? Like, I'm just thinking, I love what you're saying, because I'm like, well, you've got to do things on your terms, but I'm also thinking of how to make that tangible, that so that they can actually keep enough work to stay in business, because, like you said, that sort of, say it was a £1 million contract, that's going to keep them in work for a lot of time like that. That sort of buys them the time to get that confidence. However, like you said, if they don't get paid, then they're out anyway. But
a typical lifestyle.
Risk.
Well, this is it. Well, the whole point of contracting is risk. But if you're a contractor, this is the point I'm making. I'm emphasising that contract is what your business is. These are your assets. So it's like buying a car and just letting it go to rust. So if you get a contract and you don't know exactly how much money it's going to make you, how long it's going to take you, what the quality standards are, why are you even doing it? You might as well just jack in and go and work for the guy PAYE, because you get better rights. Because working as a contractor is almost like working as slave labour these days. It's awful, the terms that they're expected to sign up to, and you think, just say no. And the people are like, well, it's not as easy as that. I'll give you an example. I've got wasn't a specialist contractor, it was a specialist designer, because they come under Construction Act as well. And this guy was like, I'm not sure if I'll be able to go back with the T's and C's. So I give the coaching clients that I have, they get a set of terms and conditions to use in their business. After the program was finished, he come back to me and he says he's trebled his turnover, and everybody's working on his terms. He's like, I didn't think that was possible. Wow. So it's changing that. It's getting rid of the fear, because that's what it is that fear. And the fear is a bit like society. If you're afraid of everything, well, you might as well stay in the house.
No, it does make sense. You must have had quite a lot of sort of stressed out people. That's like, I take it that there'll be people that there'll be contractors that come to you and they're like, I just can't get paid here. Like, what do I do? Do you try and help with that sort of side of things as well, or is that too late at that point?
No, I mean, I do adjudication as well. That's the biggest part of my business is adjudication.
So look, I can't get paid. What do I do? And then
so we take them through adjudication. I'm building a team just now, and obviously I'm still doing the coaching side, because that's the reactive. A lot of those guys are people who I've done adjudications for before, or they've seen me on LinkedIn. But the actual adjudications, when you're at the mercy of a decision from an adjudicator, and that's literally like the emperor in the Colosseum. It could like live or die, literally, as in your business I'm talking about.
That's crazy.
And then we talk about like the mental health toll on the industries. Nobody's talking about it, and they should. It's wrong.
What's your take on that? What's your thoughts on the mental health?
Well, it has a massive effect. If somebody's, a working person, a man or a woman, doesn't get paid and can't pay for their to feed their family or pay their mortgage, or to me it's almost like it writes itself. But all these big companies will talk about mental health awareness. It's okay to not be okay, and I'm like, I find it quite sick, because it's like you say that BS on your marketing splurges there, but then you still do that to your supply chain. They're no like.
Aye, so you think that what they're saying is not aligned with what they're doing?
Correct. It's just platitudes. You're like, we really care about your workforce. Maybe you care about your workforce. What about your supply chain?
Because if the contractor's not getting paid, then the people who's doing the work for them, whether that's sort of staff or they've got subcontractors in. Again, I know you didn't like subcontractor. You like to keep a specialist. I know, but I'm meaning like the actual the contractor who's doing the job for the main contractor. Yeah. So they might have subbies that comes in as well. So that's why I'm referring to it as subbies. But that then just ripples down. So if somebody's not getting paid there, then the stress is coming down, and then or if the timescales aren't being met, then all that extra stress and pressure is getting added, and it can take a toll on mental health. So aye.
But it does. I mean, I even look back to like my old man and even myself and my brother and stuff when all that happened. It was heartbreaking. Yeah. Because it's like KPMG walked in and my dad's name was Ewing, so they called it Operation South Fork. You couldn't make it up. Because the Dallas in the 80s, I don't know if, maybe I'm showing my age, people might not
Before my
remember
time,
that.
I'm just kind of nodding. I'm going, I was born in 1990, but...
I was just before your time, yeah.
Yeah, nah, it's...
Because that's when I started in the industry.
In 1990, was it?
1990, yeah.
Aye, it is interesting. What's what I know you, like, I've spoke to you in the past and you've like said quite a bit about sort of different mental health things and that, and like, so what would you be advising people to do and stuff to try and you've been quite vocal about your mental health, like what sort of things have you done that would help these guys that's probably under stress? And
yeah, speaking about it for me, I mean, I've been quite open about it on LinkedIn. I mean, I was suicidal in 2018. My natural mum died in 2017 on the morning I was to meet her for the first time, and it, like, my world ended then, you know. And I still find it hard even talking about it. Yeah. But by the time 2018 came along and I was sitting in my house and alcohol, drugs, I was just trying to self-destruct. But I didn't, and I reached out and got help and then worked my way back up. But I mean, now I do a lot of meditation. I talk to my coaching clients about it, and cold water showers every morning. Yeah, exercise, healthy diet.
I do similar stuff myself, and I've probably been in similar places to like what you mentioned, probably in 2018 as well, believe it or not. So we might have been aligned somewhere on that. But
we'll meet at a party.
but it's difficult. See, trying to speak to people in construction about give meditation a go, or I know you'd mentioned about Reiki as well. Like I've tried that, and it can be difficult. But I think a lot of the time, what I think is, if something's no right, you sort of need to have a look at it and go, right, something's no right, and then you have got to. You need to do something with it. So if it's speaking about it or whatever, but I think a lot of the time is people just keep going on the same kind of hamster wheel. So it's like you mentioned, like alcohol and drugs there. That's an easy coping mechanism. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's, you can turn to that and that can probably short term fix the problem maybe. And you go, right, well, I'll just do that. But like it's probably too easy to just like stay in that cycle. It's harder to probably say, well, I'll give something like meditation a go, or I'll speak to somebody, or even what I found is that when you actually go and try and get some support for your mental health, it can be quite difficult. It's not easy to just go and, speak to somebody about it, because a lot of people don't know how to deal with it, so you kind of really need to go to a professional, but that's got a bit of a stigma as well, and it can be a bit difficult. So
yeah, but I mean, I think the industry, to be fair, are talking more and more about it, and I think that's good, but we need to do more. And the actual sorry, I was going to say that you've got things like Andy's Man Club, I think it's called. Yeah, these things as well. I mean, I personally, because I spoke quite vocally about it on LinkedIn, I then got inundated with people, like men asking me, to help, and I would go for walks with guys and stuff like that, just to help them out. But then they were asking me, and I felt really awkward because I thought, I'm a bit of a fraud here, because I don't know what to say to you, because they're like suicidal. So I then became a mental health first aider.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, because then I thought, well, I'm then qualified to talk to you, which is fine, and I would recommend that to anyone. It's really like eye-opening. The thing is, sometimes the difference between life and death is just one conversation. It really is, and it was for me.
That's amazing. I think once you speak it, it just lifts something a bit, doesn't it?
Say, old adage, a trouble shared is a trouble halved.
Yeah, it can be. It's very difficult, especially for men, to be vulnerable like that. How does that come for a drive in you then? Because I know I read your articles on LinkedIn; they were really good, by the way.
Thank you.
And you're super vulnerable with it, and like I've done similar things like that in the past as well, and it's like when you be that vulnerable, like you get quite a weird feeling, but then it probably only takes one person to reach out to you, like what you said, you maybe got there and they say, oh, I read that and I feel like so much better. I'm like, it just felt so relatable. Like I think that's usually enough, but like I probably had a certain fear that doing that, somebody would just say something negative and it would just tip me over the edge. I wouldn't say I'm really like that now, but I think when I was in that frame of mind, I was thinking, I'm going to try and be vulnerable, but if somebody says something like I'm just going to, I'm just going to be even worse, I think.
Yeah, to be honest, I genuinely was terrified before I hit that 30th of October 2022, I remember it vividly, and I was sitting like that. I'm not going to lie, I had a big, thick dram sitting on the table beside me, and I hit publish because I thought, do you know what? At the end of the day, if there's people that are going to be hard on you for being vulnerable, you just ignore them. You know, the thing is, I think, what's the phrase, people that have been through hell should carry buckets of water for those still going through it.
Absolutely.
You know?
Nah, that's good, mate. That's good. And going forward, is this what you're going to continue in this space then? So the specialist contractor stuff and try to help there, but also, have you got anything else coming up with the mental health side as well, or just keep sharing and helping people?
I basically just keep sharing my story and my journey, because I'm still on it. I'm not. I mean, I say I'm healed while I'm still healing, because I don't think
we're always healing, eh?
Yeah. We're always evolving in that, but the more I share, the more I coach people, and I share my stories with the coaching clients and sessions, and real world stories as well, from the adjudication arena. That's just non-stop, you know?
Really good.
Yeah.
And if anybody's looking to reach out to you, what's the best way to get in touch with
you? Probably LinkedIn, I would say, yeah, through either one of our pages, or just direct contact me. I'm very approachable.
Nah, that's great, mate. Thanks for coming on, I appreciate it.
No worries, buddy.
Good man.
Thanks for having me.
Brilliant.
Cheers.